Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we are live. Welcome back to the show. I am your host, Matt Morris. We are live right now on YouTube at Matt Morris TV and on Rumble at Matt Morris TV. Today is Thursday, October 30th. Tomorrow is Halloween, everybody. We have some massive breaking news. Ladies and gentlemen, today is officially day number 30 of the ongoing Democrat-manufactured government shutdown. So far, the Senate has failed 13 times. 13 individual occasions they have failed to vote to reopen the federal government. And I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, things are about to get a little bit crazy. You see, the Senate is adjourned, meaning they are not coming back to work until Monday, November 3rd. Now, the reason why I'm telling you that is because it is November 1st. On November 1st is when the first set of SNAP benefit, federal funded SNAP food assistance payments are not going to go out because the government continues to be shut down. Now, of course, as many of you have heard, 42 million Americans across this country every single month receive this federal food assistance in the form of SNAP payments. Now, that is 1 out of every 8 Americans. 1 out of 8 Americans every single month receive this type of federal food assistance. It's called SNAP, except that they won't be getting that federal food assistance November 1st because the government is shut down. And why is the government shut down? Because of the Democrats. At the earliest conceivable date, they could receive those payments November 3rd because that's the next time the Senate is back in session. They're having another vote. But even then, it's not looking good. Okay? We are still at a little bit of an impasse here, to say the least. And so, ladies and gentlemen, right now, a lot of people, this is the talk of the town, is that right now we are potentially looking as early as November 1st, which is when these SNAP payments don't go out. We are looking at potential riots and potential protests, people that are upset they're not receiving their federal food assistance. Now, of course, we are entering holiday season. Halloween is tomorrow. 3 or 3.5 weeks from now is Thanksgiving. You've got Christmas coming up after that. This is the time when everybody kind of likes to eat a lot. People like to eat food this time of year. Well, some people might be having a little bit less food because of this government shutdown. Now, as a little bit of a history lesson, the longest government shutdown in U.S. history actually occurred in winter of 2018 going into 2019. It was December into January. It lasted 35 days long, and of course, this was during President Trump's first term in the White House. Now, why did this government shutdown happen? The 35-day-long record, the longest one in our nation's entire history. And by the way, today is day number 30 of this shutdown. We're brushing up on that. We might set a new record here. In a couple days, it very easily could be the case. In fact, if I had to bet, we probably will set a new record. But anyway, why did that shutdown happen in 2018, 2019? Well, guess what? I haven't seen a lot of people talking about this, but the reason why is because the Senate Democrats refused to pass a bill that was funding President Trump's border wall. Remember the border wall that President Trump wanted to build? Now he is successfully building it. He's back in the White House. We've got funds appropriated for that in accordance with the big, beautiful bill that got passed a couple months ago. But we weren't so lucky in 2018, 2019. President Trump tried to get funding for the border wall. The Democrats, they refused to pass it. They said, you got to cut the funding for the border wall out of this budget bill. Otherwise, we're going to take everybody's SNAP benefits. Do you remember this? Anybody that's clued in, you might remember this. In 2018, 2019, the Democrats similarly tried to leverage SNAP benefits, federal food assistance. They threatened to take that away from, at the time, it was like 39 or 38 million Americans. Okay, they tried to take away people's federal food assistance because they did not want to give Trump the funding for the border wall. And so guess what now? They're doing what they do best. This is what the Democrats love to do. They're trying to leverage the suffering of Americans. They're threatening to take away people's federal food assistance because they want to do everything they can to subvert and undermine President Trump's America First agenda. Now, rumor has it, I'm hearing birds chirping, chirp, chirp, chirp. Rumor has it that President Trump and the Senate Republicans are very seriously considering activating what is called the nuclear option. Some of you might know what that means. Some of you might not know what that means. But the nuclear option effectively is a way that the Senate Republicans right now, they control the Senate. They can invoke this nuclear option, which would allow them to change some of the rules of the Senate. In this case, if they went nuclear, it would allow them to drop the vote threshold needed to pass this budgetary continuing resolution down from 60 all the way down from 60 all the way down to 50. That's a big deal. Right now, the Senate Republicans, they only have 55 votes. They need 60 to pass this budgetary continuing resolution. They go nuclear, they could drop it down to 50. We're good, full steam ahead, reopen things, reopen the government. They could do that. Now, the problem with that is that it permanently changes the rules going forward. And so people are saying, oh, well, if we change the rules, then maybe the Democrats are going to abuse this at some point in the future. So it's a controversial decision. That's the reason why they haven't done it yet. But rumor has it, word on the block is Trump and the Senate Republicans led by Republican Thune, they are seriously considering this. And so, folks, we have a big show today. It is good to be back. I've been gone for 4 days. You might have noticed. I've seen the messages. I've been a little bit sick. You can probably tell in my voice. In fact, I've got a serious cough. I've got a tickle in my lungs right now. So I'm going to try to do my best today. We have a big show today. There's a lot to talk about. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm going to try not to gas out. The other day, I had a 101 fever. So I'm coming back. I'm getting my energy back. And it is good to be back. So everybody, let's go ahead and jump in today's news because there is a lot going on here. Now, before we really get into today's developments, I want to give you guys a little bit of a background. Oh, I see that my webcam is missing. Perfect. There it is. Listen, I want to give you a little bit of a background here. Some investigative researchers here, as a consequence of this ongoing shutdown, have pulled up some pretty concerning information, very curious information about the nature of these SNAP benefits. I want to play this expose for you. This is going to absolutely blow your mind. Take a look at this.
There are 42 million people in this country that need food stamps on a weekly basis. And we're saying people deliberately instead of Americans because most of the people that are on food stamps aren't even from this country.
Wow.
45% of Afghanistan immigrants are on food stamps. 42% of Somali immigrants, 34% of every immigrant from Iraq, 23% of Haitians, 59% of all illegal aliens are collecting food stamps, meaning that most of the people getting food stamps from the U.S. government and the U.S. taxpayer are not even Americans. Think about that. And we didn't know about any of this before the government shutdown started, but thanks to Democrats, we can confirm tonight that millions of Joe Biden illegal aliens, people who crossed the border when Joe was president, are now collecting food stamps from a program funded by hardworking American taxpayers.
Absolutely insane. And now, folks, I want to give you a little bit more context here. This information is actually from a Center for Immigration Studies survey that was put out in 2023. It was a big research survey that got published in 2023 from the Center for Immigration Studies. And what the Center for Immigration Studies determined, they had a huge array of information they gathered this from. They determined that 59% of illegal aliens in this country, as of 2023 at least, were gathering some amount, some type, at least one type of federal assistance. SNAP, welfare, Social Security, Medicaid, you know how much fraud there is. 59% of illegal aliens as of 2023 at least were gathering at least one type of federally funded subsidy like this. So this is where this data is coming from. And by the way, that study says at least one type of federal subsidy. God knows how many of them are collecting 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different types of federal assistance. So it's absolutely nuts. And then I want to show you a chart here. I'm kind of losing my voice already. You can probably hear it. I'm happy to be back though. This is going to absolutely blow your mind. Federal food stamp SNAP spending in this country doubled nationwide between 2019 and 2023. This is where it was in 2019. Every single year, we were spending $63 billion every single year on SNAP benefits. This is these federal food benefits. Well, guess what happens? Donald Trump leaves the White House. under pretty weird circumstances. We don't need to get into that, but I think we all kind of know what happened. Anyway, Joe Biden enters the White House. Well, within just a couple of years, the amount of SNAP spending going out, it doubles, it over doubles. At one point, it almost triples. It almost triples. This is absurd. And then you remember, oh yeah, well, 59% of illegal aliens are collecting some type of federal assistance. Oftentimes that's SNAP. And what happened during the Joe Biden presidency? Well, this country accepted in 25, conservatively, we can say 25 million, maybe more, illegal aliens in a 4-year window. And 59% of them, ballpark, were collecting some type of federal assistance, namely SNAP. So this entire situation, I think, has just totally backfired on the Democrats. You know, I think a lot of people were kind of not really thinking about SNAP or paying attention, or at least a lot of Americans weren't looking at SNAP this closely. They weren't putting it under the microscope. Well, guess what, Democrats? Guess what, Chuck Schumer? Now that you have manufactured the shutdown, now all of this waste and fraud and abuse in the federal government, SNAP in this case, is being dissected and put under the microscope. And we're all sitting here scratching our heads saying, what the hell has been going on here? What the hell has been going on? This is absurd. And so then we get to where we are today. Now I want to start playing some clips for you today because a couple things happened today. J.D. Vance, first off, held a round table just a couple hours ago with various Republican leaders in order to talk about how they want to navigate the ongoing shutdown. We have some clips coming out of that. We have some other stuff. Various congressional reps chime in. So let's kick this off here. Let's put this entire situation into context. Take a look.
Unfortunately, these are not great circumstances. You talk about majorities, bipartisan majorities. Keep in mind, we passed this spending bill out of the House on September 19th, Charlie, well in advance of the September 30th deadline. There was only one Democrat that joined with the Republicans in the House to pass it over to the Senate. Now, it gets to the Senate. And you've got a rule, the filibuster rule. They need 60 votes. We only need a simple majority in the House. They need 60 votes to get something to the floor. And Chuck Schumer has refused to provide the votes necessary to get this to the floor. And as a result, the government's been shut down for 30 days now. And I would argue to the people
30.
watching that most people haven't noticed. Your report from LaGuardia this morning is an example. Most people haven't noticed up till this week.
This is true. I want to pause here. I think it is fair to say we are 30 days into the shutdown, and most Americans, some have, but most Americans, frankly, have not been impacted. Well, that's about to change. Like we said, November 1st is when the first batch of SNAP payments are set to not go out. Now, a little bit of extra context about how SNAP payments go out. Luckily, this is actually one of the things our federal government has done intelligently. The entire country, all 42 million SNAP recipients, do not get their SNAP payments on the same day. This has been, the entire system is staggered. So some Americans get SNAP payments on the 1st. Some Americans get SNAP payments on the 5th. Some get SNAP payments on the 10th, on the 15th, on the 20th, whatever. And so luckily, not all 42 million Americans are missing their payment on the 1st, but a couple million are across the country. And then a couple days after that, a couple more million are going to miss them. And so the system is staggered. That is a good thing, I suppose. But still, November 1st, that's when the first couple million, and by the way, I said Americans, a lot of them are obviously not Americans. I really should say people. And I just have to give my opinion. You call me a socialist if you want. It doesn't really bother me that much if Americans are getting SNAP payments. Actual Americans. I understand there are people that are down on their luck. You're a single mom, whatever, your husband dies, whatever. You can imagine all these crazy circumstances. It doesn't really bother me if actual American patriots are getting help in this way. What really does bother me is when you have 48% of Afghani immigrants getting SNAP payments. That's a problem. When you have 59% of illegal aliens in the country getting SNAP payments, that is a major problem. So that's really my big issue. And that's what we're talking about.
Thanks to Donald Trump finding a way to pay our troops last month,
Right.
that pain was delayed. But starting this week, the American Federation of Government Employees, the largest government employee union in the country, 820,000 members, sent a letter and said, get this done. Open the government up so you can get back to negotiating. Guess what? Tuesday, air traffic controllers did not get a paycheck. And you just outlined for the viewers all the bad things that are going to happen. This is starting to become very real. They are playing with people's actual lives.
That's right. I mean, back to the point I was making a moment ago. So far, I think it's fair to say the shutdown for a lot of people, it's been kind of cerebral. It hasn't really been in your face, meaning it hasn't impacted a lot of people directly. Well, November 1st, and every day thereafter, all of November, every single day of November, it is going to get real. And, you know, we were talking about illegal aliens receiving these SNAP payments. Guess what? Listen, these illegal aliens, although they are receiving SNAP payments, they are people in this country. They're not Americans. They're not tax-paying Americans, but they are people. They are human beings that have been receiving these payments. What do you think happens if you start cutting millions and millions and millions of illegal aliens in this country off of their free food benefits? Do you think they're going to be peaceful? Do you think they're going to be civil about it? Do you think they are going to be respectful about it? All of them have invaded this country. All of them are terminologically criminals. Do you think these criminals that have illegally invaded our country, if you start taking their free food benefits from them, do you think they're going to be peaceful and civil and understanding? Or do you think they're going to get rowdy and rambunctious and riotous and dangerous and violent? Because I would lean towards the former. In fact, we have seen them do that time and time again. Namely, a couple months ago, this last summer in California and Los Angeles, you saw hundreds or thousands of Mexican flags marching down the streets of Los Angeles. They were blowing up cars. They were throwing rocks at police officers. And so this is another point of today's broadcast I'd like to share with you guys. Some people are speculating that what's going to happen as a consequence of this shutdown, people's SNAP payments are getting pulled now. Maybe these riots and protests are going to erupt across the country. Might that serve as a justifiable pretense for the Insurrection Act? A lot of people have been talking about the Insurrection Act. Well, I'll tell you what, if we have illegal aliens marching through the streets, stealing stuff, industrially stealing things from stores all across the country. By the way, you'll notice every time a situation like this pops up, they're not going in there and stealing actual food. They're like breaking into Best Buy and stealing plasma screen TVs. They're saying, man, President Trump is taking away my free food. All right, I'm going to go rob a liquor store. All right, Mr. Trump. All right, I'm going to go break into a Best Buy and I'm going to go steal a plasma screen TV. It's time to get it. I'm going to go steal a new pair of Nike shoes down at Foot Locker. It's like, wait a minute, what's going on? I thought you were hungry. You can't eat the plasma screen TV. What's going on here? Now, this is House Speaker Mike Johnson. He weighs in earlier today.
They are the ones that have voted now between the House and the Senate 14 times to close the government and impose all this pain on the American people. It's the Republicans who have voted over and over to keep the government open. Yeah. I think there is a break coming. I think the dynamic will change. Ooh. I certainly hope so. We pray that's true. That the Democrats will be able to continue to feel the pressure from the American people, from all these voices, even in the moderate and center left, like the unions, who are saying, please do the right thing. Stop playing games. You're hurting real Americans. And break that impasse. We're appealing to whatever moderate and centrist Democrats are left in the Senate to do the right thing, put the politics aside, do the right thing for the people so we can get about our work here again and get the government open.
Now, you guys know that so far, 3 Democrats, well, technically 2 Democrats and 1 independent from Maine, I believe, doesn't matter. 3 liberals and 42 Republicans have been voting to reopen. It is stuck at 55-45. You need 60. We've got 55. Now, I think it's fair to say that we are not going to see President Trump give in. We are not going to see the Senate Republicans give in and capitulate here, because so far, I just want to go ahead and play this. Is this the right clip? Yes, it is. So far, the entire country is blaming the Democrats for this. appropriately, by the way. You know, maybe if during this shutdown you saw 70% of Americans are blaming President Trump and the Republicans for the shutdown, maybe Trump would capitulate. Maybe Trump would say, all right, we got to reopen this. It's terrible for our polls. That's not the case, though. Listen, people across the country, they know what's up. Everybody knows what is up here. This is a Schumer shutdown. The Democrats have manufactured this shutdown. And I want to play this clip here. This is coming out of CNN. This is CNN, even with their biased polling, even they are being forced to admit, listen, this is a Schumer shutdown. Take a look at this.
Starting with Republicans, how has the shutdown seemed to have affected their political standing?
Yeah, you might think, given that the Republicans are in charge of both the House and the Senate, that a government shutdown might actually hurt the Republican brand. But in fact, it hasn't. If anything, it's been helped a little bit. Take a look here, the shift in net popularity versus pre-shutdown. When we're looking at the Republican Party overall, that brand actually up 2 points. That's within the margin of error, but clearly it hasn't dropped. Come over to this side of the screen. Look at the net approval ratings for Republicans in Congress. Yeah. It's actually up 5 points since pre-shutdown. So what we're seeing here is the Republican brand in Congress has actually improved somewhat compared to where we were pre-shutdown, despite the fact that Republicans control. And that's the math that John Thune and Mike Johnson are looking at is, well, hey, why should we give, and electorally speaking, when our brand has actually improved a little bit?
So the situation is twofold here. First off, everybody over here on the right side of the aisle, we say we are not giving money to illegal aliens. That is what this shutdown is about. The Democrats, Chuck Schumer, they are trying to extort hundreds of billions of dollars out of us. 1.5 trillion, they say, trying to extort $1.5 trillion out of the federal government, which is all of us federal taxpayers. They're trying to get that money from us to put it into the hands, into the pockets of a bunch of illegal aliens. And we have said, no, there's no way in hell. We are not doing that. Trump says no. The Republicans say no. We say no. We are not doing that. Keep the government shut down. There's no way in hell we're doing that. And so that's the first principled issue here. It's not happening. Second off, in the midst of us saying no, our approval ratings continue to go up. So why would we surrender to Chuck Schumer? Why would President Trump surrender to Chuck Schumer? Why would the Senate Republicans surrender when, I hate to say it, this shutdown has actually proven to be, in a weird, twisted way, beneficial for the Republicans? And it's not the Republicans that have manufactured this. They are voting time and time again to reopen the government. That said, this has ended up being beneficial for the Republicans, politically speaking.
Now, we say their position is getting better. With whom?
Yeah, okay, with whom? So I think it's two groups that it's so important to keep an eye out on. All right, changing the Republican Congress's net approval rating versus pre-shutdown. It's rallying the base for sure. Look at this, net approval rating up 12 points versus pre-shutdown. But it's not just with the base. It's also with the middle of the electorate. Look at this, among independents. It's up 8 points as well.
This is terrible for the Democrats. Independent voters, I don't know, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, I can't make up my mind. The independents, even they are saying, listen, this is a Democrat shutdown. Even the independents are saying, man, Chuck Schumer shut down the government. Why'd he do that?
Well, so we've got a situation here where Republicans with the shutdown are actually rallying their base, but it's also something that's not hurting them with the folks in the middle. If anything, it's helping them with folks in the middle. And this is the type of math that if you're Republicans, you like to see, right? Because something could rally the base but alienate those in the middle, or something could rally those in the middle but alienate the base. But the truth is, we're not seeing that. What we're seeing is the Republican brand has actually gotten better among independents, and it's also gotten better among Republicans as well, that Republican brand when it comes to those in Congress. So again, what's the electoral reason that Republicans would give in at this point?
And Democrats, of course, they have their eyes on the midterm elections. Yeah, we have elections 1 week from today, but what Democrats in Congress are mostly focused on are 1 year and 1 week from today from the midterm. So how are they positioned right now?
Yeah.
It is hard to imagine that the Democrats believe this shutdown is good for them going into midterms. What are they going to campaign on? What, in 8 or 9 months, the Democrats are going to campaign on the fact they're going to say, yes, we shut down the government. We stopped people's federal SNAP. We took food off of people's plates during holiday season. We did that. They're going to say, yeah, we stopped paying our air traffic controllers. We put everybody's lives at risk because we stopped paying our air traffic controllers. Is that what they're going to campaign on? They're going to say, yes, we voted to stop paying our veterans. Is that what they're going to campaign on? What is the plan here? There's no way they're that stupid. Well, actually, you know what? They might be that stupid. I don't know.
Yeah, so, I mean, look, the generic congressional ballot, which traditionally Democrats have done really well on, and if you look at this point back when Trump was president the first time around, Democrats are up 11 points. Look at where it is now. Democrats are ahead, but they're actually only up 3 points. This is, in fact, the worst position Democrats have been on in a generic ballot at this point in midterm when there was a Republican president in the last 20 years.
They are hemorrhaging support. They're bleeding out.
And this is no different from pre-shutdown. So Republicans aren't losing on this metric either. They become more popular, and they're actually in a pretty good position for them historically when it comes to the generic congressional ballot.
This is a concerning number for Democrats, are you saying, Congress?
This is a concerning number for Democrats because it's considerably worse than they traditionally do in midterm elections when there's a Republican president.
Oh, yeah. This is very bad. So you guys, a lot of you are old enough to kind of know this. You've probably been paying attention. When a Republican gets in the White House, generally they lose the following midterms. When a Democrat gets in the White House, generally they lose the following midterms. Don't ask why. That's just kind of what happens. I don't know. Maybe American voters have some type of pendulum swing phenomenon of buyer's remorse. They say, I just voted for a Republican. I'm going to try a Democrat now. I voted for a Democrat. I'm going to try a Republican now. But there's always that little swing back in the following midterms. This is bad for the Democrats. They do not have the support they need. And of course, keep in mind, this is a CNN poll. So probably some amount of bias here. Things are very bad. They are hemorrhaging support. They are bleeding out, so to speak. Now, like I said, J.D. Vance earlier today convened a round table of various Republican leaders. We have Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy here. I'm looking at him right there. Let's see what they had to say at this round table.
Here is our very simple proposal to the Democrats. Let's sit down and come to a compromise and work it out. And you know what the Democrats' response to that is? Give us everything we want, or we're going to shut down the government and keep it shut down. That is not reasonable behavior. That's not how you do compromise in this town. That is the way that the Democrats have operated. They are trying to take a hostage, and we can't reward that behavior. If we do that, if we say, yes, of course, we'll give you everything that you want if you reopen the government, you know what's going to happen? In 3 months, they're going to come back to the administration, and they're again going to say, we're going to shut down the aviation industry. We're going to deny people SNAP benefits unless you give us exactly what you want. That's how a child behaves.
Has anybody here read the children's book called If You Give a Mouse a Cookie? This is one of my favorite books of all time. If you give a mouse a cookie, then the mouse is going to ask for a glass of milk. You say, no, mouse, I just gave you a cookie. Okay, fine, I'll give you a glass of milk. And then the mouse gets the glass of milk and says, okay, but now I need a straw. But now I need a napkin. But now I need a this. And now I need a that. Da, 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 da. And it never ends. At some point, you have to put your foot down and say, no, listen here, mouse. I already gave you the cookie. Enough is enough.
That is not how a responsible governing party behaves in the United States of America. And let me make one final point, and then we'll cut out of this press conference. Look, I've been a little bit unfair, and I want to correct this, because when I say the Democrats have shut down the government, it's actually the far left side of the Democratic Party, because to their great credit, 3 moderate Democrats joined 52 Senate Republicans to vote to reopen the government. Yep. We need 5 more reasonable Democrats to put the American people first and reopen the government. That's all that we're asking. Let's talk about health care policy. Let's make sure that we ensure that Americans' health insurance premiums don't go up. We want that, and we're willing to work with people for it, but they've got to reopen the government first. Sean came from a background not that dissimilar from mine. Sean O'Brien came from a background not that dissimilar from mine. There are moms and dads who are fighting right now because they're worried about not being able to pay the credit card bill and the mortgage bill. There are parents who have to look their kids in the eye and say, you know what, we're not going to do football this year. We're not going to do basketball this year because I can't pay for it because the federal government is shut down and I'm not getting a paycheck. Do we want those people who keep the aviation system running to not be able to feed their families?
You guys know, real quick side note, right now there are across the country 13,000 air traffic controllers currently working. They're still showing up to work every day, not getting a paycheck. That, I think, needs to be just real quickly saluted or applauded or praised. These air traffic controllers, they've been so far probably hit the hardest by this shutdown. They are still showing up. They are a very important, I think it's fair to say, essential to the proper function of this nation. You got to have the air traffic controllers. It's a pretty important job, 13,000 of them nationwide. They're showing up to work every day, not even getting paid. Now, I believe they will be getting back pay. Granted, this government shutdown ever comes to an end, but right now they're missing paychecks. They're still going to work every day.
To not be able to pay for some of the things that make life worth living, the answer to that question is absolutely. We want them to be able to afford a good life. The only way for that to happen is to reopen the government. It'll be good for those who fly. It'll be good for those who work in the aviation industry. It'll be good for the whole country. Just do the common sense thing, Democrats. Reopen the government. We need 5 Senate Democrats to join us. I hope that they will. Thank you, guys.
5 more. And you know what? And so this clip here is from just about literally 2 hours ago here. J.D. Vance convened a roundtable, like I said, trying to make sense of this entire situation. In fact, we have a couple more clips from this same get-together. We have the leader of the Teamsters here that we're going to play, and we also have another J.D. Vance clip. Like I said, rumor has it, if people really start missing SNAP payments and the Democrats refuse to capitulate, we are going to go nuclear. That's kind of the word on the block. That's the rumor that's going around right now, at least.
Look, the bottom line, and we took a position, I represent 1.3 million working men and women in this country for the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. We took a position 3 weeks ago. Pass a clean CR, get to the table, negotiate a deal. Do not put working people in the middle of a problem they should not be in there. And we got to think about the families that are going to be affected. Think about when you have to tell your son or daughter they can't play sports because you're not getting paid. Think about when you can't pay your mortgage. Think about when you can't pay your tuition. Put the politics aside, get to the table, negotiate a deal, pass a clean CR right now, and then figure out the problems moving forward. And I want to thank the air traffic controllers. I want to thank the Aviation Administration for all their hard work and sacrifice they make. And look, security and safety of the airlines is paramount. Let's not compromise the safety and security. Pass a clean CR. Thank you.
It already has been. And that's what's terrible. You know, I apologize. I'm just sitting here thinking real quick, what is going to have to happen for these Senate Democrats? We need 5 more. What is it going to take for 5 more of them to flip on over and vote alongside the Republicans? They have been stalwart here for 30 days. It's day 30. They have decided to shut down the federal government. Now, by the way, this must be said also. A government shutdown is to some degree a national security risk. The Democrats have decided to expose our nation to a pretty legitimate national security risk by nature of shutting down the government. The shutdown so far is just damaging to varying degrees in numerous ways. And now, November 1st, SNAP benefits are getting cut for people. The first batch of Americans are going to be losing their SNAP benefits. You know, when you talk about, I don't know, I don't want to sound too drastic or serious here, but if you start taking people's food, people that otherwise do not have the means with which to feed themselves, right? Maybe these are people that are disabled or they're, otherwise they can't work. They don't make enough money to do it. Times are tough these days. For whatever reason, they really do genuinely need SNAP. I'm not talking about the illegal aliens here. I'm talking about actual Americans. Listen, this is when things get a little bit dire. This is when people, who knows what they do when people are hungry.
The government. What we're also saying is that we're not going to allow anybody, Democrat or Republican, to effectively threaten any policy demand and to place that upon reopening the government. You don't reward hostage taking. If Democrats want to talk about healthcare policy, let's talk about healthcare policy. If they want to talk about tax policy, let's talk about tax policy. They don't get to come in here and say, you give us everything we want, or we're going to shut down the government and not pay our pilots and not pay our air traffic controllers. It's ridiculous, disgraceful, irresponsible behavior. There have got to be 5 more moderate Democrats in this entire city who are willing to work with us to reopen the government.
Hey, I just 2 minutes ago posed a question. What do we need to see 5 more of these Democrats hop on over and vote to reopen the government? We might have to see people losing SNAP payments, and we might have to see riots or protests break out across the country. You know, I think generally speaking, Americans, generally speaking, are not that riotous, but illegal aliens are. Illegal aliens are not afraid to cause damage. We have seen that happen time and time again. And so, you know, I'll kind of loop the broadcast back to what we were talking about around 25 or 30 minutes ago, where I asked you the question, if these illegal aliens, we've got tens of millions of them that have been receiving SNAP benefits or some type of federal benefit, if they start losing their free crap that they have been receiving from the federal government, do you think these illegal aliens are likely to get rambunctious or rowdy or violent or hostile? Are they going to start breaking into businesses and stealing things? Well, keep in mind, they had no problem breaking the law when they invaded the country illegally. So they already have a proclivity for breaking the law. Doesn't seem to matter a whole lot to them by nature of them being here illegally. So if they start losing their free government handouts, the ones that are still here that have not been deported yet, things might get a little bit wild. Things might get a little bit rambunctious going forward November 1st. And by the way, every single day thereafter, every single day, more and more Americans, November 1st, November 2nd. Like I said, the way SNAP payments are designed, they are staggered out over the course of an entire month. November 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Millions and millions of more, hundreds of thousands of more people are going to be losing their food assistance. I think so far the shutdown has been pretty tame. You know, regrettably, we've had some groups not getting paychecks so far, air traffic controllers, namely. November 1st is when things really are set to potentially get a little bit crazy. Now, I was saying earlier that in 2018, 2019, we had our longest federal government shutdown ever. It was 35 days long. The government, I'm just thinking through the calendar here, the government actually cannot reopen until November 3rd at the earliest. That is 4 days from now, because that's Senate is not working. The senators are not showing up to work until November 3rd. That's when they reconvene. November 1st is when SNAP payments don't go out, the first set of SNAP payments. So at a minimum, this is going to be a 34-day long shutdown. And likely it'll be longer than that. I think we're probably looking at a new record. And every single day going into November, this is really important. I want to get this across. This is something that must be mentioned here, because I want everybody to stay safe and take care of yourselves. Every single day that this country moves forward, starting November 1st, when people are losing their SNAP federal food assistance, things are going to get increasingly crazy. Okay, when you start taking people's food away, and by the way, it's not the Republicans that are doing this, it's the Democrats that have shut down the government. When people start losing their SNAP payments, that's when people are going to get irritable and aggressive and desperate, et cetera, et cetera. So I want everybody to take care of yourselves and stay safe. I don't know, but I am concerned. Now, we were also talking about this from the Insurrection Act angle. If there are protests or riots, you know, people that have been missing their SNAP payments, maybe illegal aliens, they get aggressive, they're breaking into businesses, they're stealing things. We have seen all of this stuff happen before. I'm not even off the cuff here, okay? We've seen stuff like this happen. This might be pretense for the Insurrection Act to squash some of these riots or protests. So I guess really the final message of today's broadcast here is going into November, things probably are going to get crazy. That's the final message here. Now, folks, I want to say thank you, everybody. It's very good to be back. Thank you all for tuning in. I want to segue over and take a look at some super chats because I have not pulled up any of these so far. I'm going to say it again. I've been sick. You can probably still hear it for the last couple days. And so that's why I have not been here live with you guys today. I got a little bit of my energy back, so we are here again. But now I want to go through some super chats with you folks. I'm pulling these up. Where to even begin? Here we go. Okay, everybody, before we do super chats, everybody make sure to like and to subscribe here on YouTube and Rumble. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Let's take a look at these super chats. This is Gaming Murph says, Happy Halloween. My wife and I are doing Halloween as some of our childhood Nickelodeon characters, Cosmo and Wanda. Oh, from the Fairly Odd Parents. If you know, you know. What's your family's Halloween costumes? We have a 2-year-old boy and a 4-year-old daughter who love the movie The Incredibles. And so tomorrow, I kid you not, I'll probably post a photo. I am dressing up as Mr. Incredible. My wife will be Mrs. Incredible. And then my kids are going to be Dash and Violet from the Incredibles movie. So I will be Mr. Incredible tomorrow. I'll post a photo probably on Twitter. Thank you. Happy Halloween if you celebrate Halloween. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. We're going trick-or-treating. Thank you very much. Happy Halloween. Joshua James says, get a job, people. Thank you, Joshua. Thank you, Joshua. Ranger says, so we are funding our own inflation. Yes, that's exactly what's been going on. This is the explicit plan of the Democrats. I mean, I try to say this as much as I can because literally, really, this is what has been going on. The sole and explicit, clearly stated objective of the Democrats in 2025 is to replace actual, authentic, real Americans like you and me. They want to replace you, replace me, Americans that have been in this country for decades or generations. Our roots are here in this country. They want you gone. They want you replaced with millions or tens of millions of immigrants from the third world that are effectively a modern slave class that are beholden to federal handouts from the federal government. That's the goal. And during that transitionary period, when you are getting replaced, they want you to pay for it. They want us to pay for our own replacement. That is what they want. And if you look at what the Democrats do through that lens, everything that they do is going to make much more sense. Why did the Democrats open up the border and allow 25 million illegal aliens? Well, it's because they want to replace you. Why are they giving federal assistance to illegal aliens, housing assistance and food assistance and all other types, free healthcare? It's because they want your life to be hard. They want their life to be easy. They want you to be financially strained. They want you to not have kids, to not buy a house, to not have a family, to not be happy. They want you gone. They want you replaced with tens of millions of immigrants from the third world. This is very obviously what is going on here. And so thank God we're finally putting our foot down and stopping this. But yeah, that's the modus operandi of the Democrats here. That is the goal. That's the objective. Thank God we're stopping that. The Gaming Murph, again, he's a longtime viewer. Thank you. He says, SNAP payment are meant to be temporary. They are supposed to be a hand up and helpful in hard times, not a handout, and certainly not a permanent system. I tend to agree with you. Now, I do understand and acknowledge that some people, they are going to need permanent help. And like I said, given the circumstances or if the circumstances are legitimate, it doesn't really bother me. What does bother me is people that are abusing the system, like maybe you're kind of talking about, and people that are in the country illegally that shouldn't even be here in the first place. Those are my two big categories that I have a big problem with. I think we're all kind of on the same page. Thank you, Gaming Murph. Again, thank you very much. Thank you. Now, Famous here, he says, here's something that should be looked into. How many illegal aliens have a food stand or truck cart? What can you buy for those products to sell? You're probably right. You're probably right. They're stocking their own shelves with EBT funds. Yeah. I used to have a roommate. You guys know I was never a marijuana smoker back in the day. I'm probably the one person to grow up in Portland, Oregon and never smoke marijuana, actually. But I used to have a roommate who smoked a lot of weed. We were maybe 20 years old. He used to get EBT food cards, and he would trade his food assistance for cash and then take the cash and purchase marijuana with his food assistance. I said, man, don't you feel bad doing that? He said, nah, I don't at all. Nah, nope. He said, nope. I had a roommate that would trade his cards for cash and then buy weed with it. I couldn't believe it. I must have been 20. It was a long time ago. Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Hey, it's Lazy says, everyone hating on SNAP, but we are giving Israel $3 billion a year for nothing. Listen, I'm a big fan of cutting off foreign funding for just about everyone. Okay, I think maybe giving money around if it makes sense and it's in the explicit interest of America. Like actually this deal with Argentina, I think that's a pretty competent deal. I made a video talking about that the other day. That deal, that investment into Argentina seems to have worked out so far. Time will tell. I'm with you. If we are giving money to foreign countries, whatever country it might be, it's got to make sense. It has to be in accordance with the credo, America first. Okay, that's how I feel. I think a lot of us here are on the same page. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. C. Mills, he says, you are spot on, my friend. There's going to be a red future. I think things are looking good for the Republican Party, for conservatives, for whatever you want to call us these days. There's a lot of different words. I think so. Thank you, C. Mills. The term I like for myself, if I have to adopt a label here, maybe I would call myself a paleo-conservative. If you guys pull up the Wikipedia page, maybe that's the best thing I could call myself, the most fitting term. Of course, no term is perfect, spot on, 100%, but maybe that's the closest. I'm a paleo-conservative, something like that. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Labels are difficult sometimes. Paulie Puree says Reagan cut off all benefits to elderly Russians who came here to retire when Carter was president. Then they self-deported. As it would turn out, a lot of people that come to this country, they're not really interested in assimilating and becoming American. They're really just here to get free stuff. Have you noticed that? Seems to be the case. So if you cut off the government-funded benefits, a lot of people, they just tend to leave. And that's what we're seeing right now. So far in the last, it's been 9 months, we've had 1.5 million self-deportations. We're set to have 2.1 or 2.2 deportations in total by the end of the year. Yeah, a lot of these people, they will see themselves out of the country that they illegally invaded. They'll just go home if you make it, if you make the country less hospitable for them. And a part of that is cutting them off from free stuff. That's a big part of it. True. Thank you very much. Michael says, Holden Caulfield. I'm not sure about that. Thank you though, Michael. Kevin Stankiewicz says, he says, young air traffic controller students in the academy are dropping out because they no longer trust the federal government. No replacements for the retiring boomers. I haven't heard about that. I believe you though. That's a big problem. I believe you. I have no problem understanding that. It's a very stressful job. Listen, in fact, it's probably one of the most stressful jobs you could have, being an air traffic controller. And then if you're also not getting a paycheck, man, yeah, that's a recipe for disaster. Thank you. Thank you very much. PDX67, he's here every day. Thank you very much. Thank you. Doesn't even have a message. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Man, it's good to be back. I missed you guys. I've been gone for 4 days. I was going crazy. I've been laying in bed. My brain was melting out of my ears. I had a fever. I was laying in bed playing mobile games. I downloaded a mobile game on my iPhone. I don't play mobile games. I've never played mobile games. What is the name of this game? I downloaded a mobile game on my phone. It's called Last War. I've been playing mobile games on my phone because I've been sick in bed for like 3 days. Oh my gosh, I've been losing my mind. So man, it's so good to be back. I'm so happy to be back. Thank you guys for being here with me. Man, I'm happy to be back. This is Death Clients says, thank you, by the way. Says Republicans should use the nuclear option and start pulling government benefits from illegals. Not just illegals. This is kind of tangential, different topic. Yes, but also every single sanctuary city and sanctuary state in the entire country, in the entire freaking country, should not be receiving $1 of federal taxpayer money if they are harboring, aiding, or abetting illegal alien invaders, or God forbid, far left domestic terrorists like Antifa. Cut them off. Cut them off. Now, I need to reload this one time because we got a couple more super chats here. We've got a little bit of a backlog. We're going to get through these. Thank you, guys. I do need to wrap up the show here, but I want to get through all of these. Here we go. Julie Adams, apparently need to stay closed till 11/10. At 41 days, it's legal for the admin to fire anyone they want. I haven't heard about that. I'm going to look into that. Okay, I'll look into that. I can't add to that because I don't know, but I'll look into that. Thank you for putting that thought in my brain, Julie. I'm going to look into that. Thank you very much. I don't know. Greg Adamite, massive super chat. I love Greg. He's here every day. He says, I feel bad for the people that truly need it. The illegal aliens are getting benefits. Never should have received it. You know, there's a term, it's called tragedy of the commons. When you have a public resource that everybody should be able to gather from, I'll make a metaphor here. Imagine you have an apple tree. If everybody, comes up and picks one apple, it's a community resource. Hey, free apples, you come up, you pick one. That's all you need. It's all good. No problem. But what is a problem when somebody comes up and picks 100 apples? Some greedy person comes up and says, I know everybody is supposed to get one apple, but I'm going to take 100 of them. Well, then the entire system doesn't work anymore, right? In fact, this is actually kind of one of my critiques of libertarianism, right? I think in principle, maybe in idea and concept, I kind of like the idea of being a libertarian, but what happens when nobody else agrees with your libertarian principles? What happens if your country has been invaded with 55 or 60 million illegal aliens that couldn't give one crap about your non-aggression principle or your liberty. What happens if you've got 60 million people that don't care about your private property rights? They don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about the non-aggression principle or the golden rule. They couldn't care less about it. Then the entire system doesn't really work, right? That's one of the problems. So, hypothetically, it's beautiful, but we've got people in this world that are abusers and they're looking to abuse, and it's a problem. Thank you, Greg. That's a big one. Thank you very much. Loaded says, if SNAP comes from taxpayer dollars, how has it ran out? I say cut it off completely for anyone under 65 or completely disabled. Well, most certainly shouldn't be going to illegal aliens. There's no doubt about that. I think it's pretty easy to conceive people that are younger that might need it. Let's say you're a stay-at-home mom and your husband is working and then he has an accident at work and he dies and you've got 5 kids. You had a beautiful life one day and everything is fine. And then your husband dies in the workplace. He falls off a skyscraper and then he doesn't come home and you've got 5 kids to take care of. Those, like very conceivable situations. I don't have a problem with people getting the help and support that they need. It doesn't bother me at all. In fact, I'm happy. I'm a charitable guy. I really am. I like to be an empathetic guy. But the problem is when legitimate empathy gets abused and taken advantage of by people that are looking to be predacious, by people that are looking to take and never give. That's when the system doesn't work anymore. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. DeReal A-Dog. Hey, thank you for being here. Welcome to the show. Thank you. Good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the show. Thank you, sir. Good to see you. Random Vid says, I'm going to be living in the living dead, also known as a liberal voter. Yeah, there are some cities you give it a couple days. We're 4, 5, 6 days into November. Like if you're living in Memphis or Atlanta, some other, maybe Chicago, it is going to be like living in the living dead. You start cutting people's SNAP payments, it's going to get bad. Maybe we do see the Insurrection Act. That might be the case. I hope not. Monica says, what the government can give you, the government can take away. You give them the power, can take away, you give them that's true. That's also true. It is true. Nothing is a certainty with the government. It's true. Thank you, Monica. Chaos says, my wife and I are going to be Mr. and Mrs. Incredible as well. And my 9-month-old is going to be Jack. Our kids they've decided that our dog, our German Shepherd, is going to be Jack, because otherwise we don't have someone to be Jack. So the German Shepherd is Jack. That's what we've decided in this house. But hey, that's fun. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Kevin says, place ICE in areas with a high migrants to catch and deport illegal aliens, and DHS and FBI police in areas. You know me. I want these cities flooded. We need to deport every single last one of them. You know how I feel. I know you guys might have forgotten how I feel about this because I haven't been here with you guys in 4 or 5 days. As a little reminder, I think all of them need to be deported. In case you forgot, what does Matt Morris think about illegal aliens? Every single one of them. All of them need to be deported. Every single one of them. As a reminder, hey, thank you very much. And listen, this is the final super chat of the day. Okay? Rise Eagle Wing with $49.99. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good to see you as always. I see you always commenting on the videos. I always try to give them a heart. I try to give a lot of hearts out here. Raya, thank you very much. I appreciate that a lot. Shout out to you and your husband. She says, thanks, Matt. Keep speaking truth. God bless, and God bless the United States of America. That is a great super chat to end the show with. Raya, thank you very much. I agree. Everybody, God bless. I think I'm actually not going to do a live broadcast tomorrow because it's Halloween. I think I won't be here. But then after that, I will be back, okay? As a little bit of a heads up. So I'm not going to see you guys tomorrow. I think I will have a video, but no live broadcast. Thank you. God bless. Thank you very much. It is very good to be back today. I'm finally feeling a little bit better. Thank you for tuning in, Raya. I appreciate that. Everybody else, thank you very much. Tomorrow, I need to go be Mr. Incredible for my kids. I'm going to dress up in the whole outfit. I'm going to have the mask on. Thank you very much, Raya. Thank you. Happy Halloween, everybody. Happy Halloween. Thank you. I will have a video for you tomorrow, and I'll have another live broadcast starting, I suppose, November 1st. We will be back full steam ahead. No more brakes on the train. I'm ripping the brakes off. Okay, full steam ahead. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys on November 1st, I guess. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. Really, man, is it good to be back. Everybody, thank you for being here. Make sure to like and subscribe. God bless, and I'll see you guys when I see you on November 1st. Everybody, until then, make sure to